When did Moses and the Israelites sing the song of Moses? When did they sing that song? After they had crossed the Red Sea. After they had crossed over, right? After they had crossed over from Egypt and they'd crossed over. Now right here, think about this. They're singing the song of Moses after they have what? Crossed over the Jordan River, so to speak, into the heavenly land of Canaan. They're standing on the Sea of Glass. God's end-time people. They're standing on the Sea of Glass and they're singing the song of Moses. Now there is some parallels here that I want to state to you. Israel was brought up out of Egypt. They were brought out. They came out. Yes. At the end of time, are God's people going to have to come out? Yes. What are they going to have to come out of? Out of Babylon. Now Israel, they lived in the midst of plagues. Now God's people, will they also survive and live through the midst of plagues? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. 7 last plagues. Now in Israel, we find that there was a mixed multitude, wasn't there, that came out? Now, at the very end of time, will the church have a mixed multitude? Will there be wheat and tares? Yeah, Jesus said, let them grow together until the harvest. Now, Israel had to flee into the wilderness. They had to flee into the wilderness, right? Yes. At the end of time, will the church have to flee into the wilderness? Yes. Absolutely. Israel received, now this is after the Red Sea and after the Song of Moses, but they received the commandments of God. Right? They received the commandments of God. Now the last day church, it says that they keep the commandments of God and have the what? The faith of Jesus. Israel, were they pursued by their enemies? Yes, Israel was pursued by Pharaoh and the horse and rider, the chariots. Right? They were pursuing after them to overtake them and destroy them. In order to take them back, right, as slaves. Now, at the end time church, the last church, will they be pursued by their enemies? Yes, at the very end of time. Yes. They'll be persecuted and pursued by the enemies of God. Now, Israel was saved when the waters were rolled back. Isn't that right? The waters were separated or parted and rolled back. At the very end of time, God's people will be saved when the skies are parted and rolled back. Isn't that what the Bible says? Yes. That the sky will be rolled back as a scroll and Jesus Christ is going to come. Now Israel, they were saved after the horse and rider. There was a horse and a rider, right? Isn't that part of the Song of Moses? The horse and rider has been thrown into the sea. Did you know that also there is a horse, I shouldn't say a horse, but there is a woman, a rider, that is riding a beast. Yes. Now, a horse is a beast, isn't it? Now, are they thrown into a lake of fire, right? Yes. So you see the parallel. Horse and rider thrown into the sea. At the very end of time, the beast and the woman are thrown into the lake of fire. So, would you say that there are similarities there? I would say so. I would say that their experience serves as a lesson for us who are going to go through the end times and the end time events.